The Jaguar I-PACE is now a reality. The car is being delivered to its first customers, like this guy, the tennis star Andy Murray. And also, I'm going to tell you a few other things that I think I forgot to mention. I did an on-location report last night from the Tesla shareholder meeting here in Mountain View. I'll update you on a few details that I didn't really mention if you want to see that video. It's already uploaded on my channel, some cool footage, and I'll show it to you again. And of course, a comment of the day about me meeting Galileo at after the shareholder meeting in Mountain View. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So we're going to talk about it all coming up next.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, electric.
Thank you to those of you who are watching me live on Patreon. I appreciate your contribution. If you want to help me continue to develop this show into a bigger kind of entity and stay independent, most importantly, please consider donating at patreon.com/E4Electric. And if you're watching me on YouTube, please consider subscribing. Now, I forgot my slide for the upcoming interviews. I actually have an interview this Saturday with Joe of OC Detailing. I think a lot of you know who he is. And the next week with the editor-in-chief of jalopnik.com. Now, I'm going to be in China at the unveiling of the second car of Byton. I'm going to visit their factory and also attend CES Asia. I'm going to fly out this Friday. I will be out for the week, but a video will be uploaded every day, so you guys will have the full content, just a little bit different this time around. Anyway, let's talk about the Jaguar I-PACE. It kind of snuck up on us, I have to say. They never kind of announced the date when they were going to start deliveries, really. But now they've, unleashed this press release. This is a tennis star, Andy Murray. He's one of the first ones to get this car, and he kind of promised everybody he was going to go to fully electric, and so he's keeping that promise now. But this is reality, and I'm really excited because it's one of the, if not the first car that is a real competitor, or I should say alternative to Tesla. Of course, their charging infrastructure is still in the very early staging, and it's really not theirs. It's Ionity in Europe and Electrify America here in the United States. But nevertheless, people like me who usually don't need to supercharge 99.9% of the time, this car is just fine. Now, I do have to say that I'm not really that crazy about the interior. It looks still kind of outdated, I would say, even for Jaguar. I would have wanted a little bit more futuristic or a refreshed look. But nevertheless, this car is here, and I'm excited. By the way, if you want one, you can configure it on their website. So I'm thinking about it myself. I just want to see what the real customer reviews are going to be. The pricing is still, I feel like it's a little too expensive for what it is. But of course, we don't have to worry about the tax credit here in the United States because Jaguar hasn't really sold any electric cars yet. So I'm excited about it. All right, now before we talk about the shareholder meeting and some of the other things that I did not really mention yesterday, of course, I want to tell you guys that MNext is the sponsor of the show and the sponsor of the channel. Thank you for the discount code that they provide for us in the description in this video if you want to save a few bucks. And of course, they make the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. All right, so shareholder meeting. So this is some of my footage from the shareholder meeting. I'll just go full screen for you guys. As you can see, they've presented, this is a non-functioning prototype of the Roadster. A lot of you really liked it in white. I still think red is best. They had a semi-truck there. This is Franz. Just walked out in the front door, so people kind of tried to give him, business cars and stuff like that. And this is a truck that stuck around there for almost until I think 7 p.m. So I taped a few videos for you guys, basically just hanging out around the truck. Met the product manager for the team. As you can see, that's Elon's brother right there in his hat as always. And this is the truck is just taken off. So it was cool to see him just driving on the street. I have not seen that yet. I've only seen it at the unveiling. So I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so let me go through some of the notes that I didn't really get to chance to tell you about and my like kind of immediate reaction on location report. Now, first one is about Model 3, and this is kind of interesting. The test drives are going to start pretty much this week or next week. No, I say this month. That's what Elon mentioned. I'm assuming they're going to start in California first and then kind of spread just like the deliveries and so forth. They do have display cars right now. They just weren't offering test drives. So that was pretty cool. Now, here's relatively major news because he mentioned that right now, somebody asked him a question, well, what if I'm not a Tesla owner, and if I just put a reservation in right now, how long would it take? And he said 3 to 4 months. And I'm thinking 3 to 4 months, the rate that they're making cars right now, we're talking about anywhere from 50 to 70,000 cars down the line. So that means that really what they're saying is out of 450,000 reservations, they can pretty much only guarantee 50 to 70 that will fulfill the order at the current configuration. Now, I know that not everybody who will do that will do it right now because people have their own plans. Some travel right now, they want to buy a new car. Sometimes, their leases don't expire. Everyone's got their own thing. So on one hand, I don't want to say, well, that's all they got right now, the current configuration. No more than 50,000 people want it. But at the same time, it does look a little low to me. Let me know what you guys think. Again, it's kind of hard to do math because we're guessing a lot of times. Now, of course, they teased with another image of Model Y. Now, I think the reason he started talking a lot about it is because one of the people who were asking, she was asking a lot of questions about leather. I think she was part of an organization for against animal abuse, I guess. And she was saying that the Model S and Model X still has a leather steering wheel. The rest of it is vegan. And Elon was saying, well, Model Y for sure will have everything vegan, including the steering wheel, if it will have a steering wheel. Kind of a joke, but probably not a joke. Maybe it will be something that just goes into the dash panel or whatever, but we'll see. It was interesting. It was interesting comment. Now, is everyone's going to be guessing for months and months. Now, here's a lot of people usually do a Photoshop version of what they think would look like. This is the one that I like the most. This is from Miguel Macei, and this is a pretty realistic, actually, image of that. I hope it doesn't look that way because it looks just a little bit bulky. Maybe it would be a little bit more slick up front, but I guess he's just using the shadows of that original teaser image. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Would you buy a car like this? Do you think they might maybe make a few adjustments and so it just doesn't look like Model 3 just had a very big meal and is a little gassy? Let me know. All right. So another thing that he mentioned is that Tesla service centers, well, I shouldn't probably say Tesla service centers. So Tesla is just going to basically create their own body shops. And I think this has been an answer pretty much for every problem they've had. They kind of say, oh, that's not working out, we're just going to bring it in-house. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, some people love Apple. It's Apple computer, right? Kind of a model. Some people don't like it because no alternatives, no competition, and so forth. But this is one of the biggest complaints because it takes weeks, sometimes months to get a part and get your Tesla fixed. So hopefully, and that will address the problem. And they're saying that this body shops are going to be out there very soon, definitely by the end of the year. Another thing that he mentioned is there are going to be a major Tesla autopilot update in the next week, I think. Now, with autopilot, his promises have definitely been very shady, if you would. There are some things that he already promised that never made it into the latest updates. He once again promised something really major, some really big advances, so we'll see. The autopilot has moved past now the first 1.0 version from Mobileye, and it looks like the rewrite really helped because I guess they're now in a position to build on top of that much faster. But nevertheless, we'll see what's going to happen. And they're also going to say they're going to bring the free trials back. I don't know if you guys were aware, but back in 2016, if you got the hardware but not the actual service, they would roll out I think 30-day trial where you can check it out, see if you like it, and then you can upgrade it. By the way, what a great way to run a car company, right? Some of the car features can be updated and made better with over-the-air update, and some features are subscription only. I think this is another great idea, so I really, really like that. I'm kind of surprised they stopped doing that back there a few years ago, but I'm glad it's back, and I think this is a great sales pitch and way to sell more stuff basically. And lastly, Tesla Supercharger, the third version, he's kind of pushing it all the way back to at the end of the year. I think at first he was mentioning it's going to be at the end of summer, but now it's going to be at the end of the year. So that's just, I mean, yet another delay. I'm not really sure if people are like dying to have it, but it is definitely something that's been on a lot of other people's minds. And also the, Electrify America and like Ionity networks that are being built out right now in the world, they're going to have a much higher output in kilowatts, up to 300 Ionity is actually promising. So I'm sure Tesla is trying to catch up to that, rightfully so. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's move on to the comment of the day. This one's actually pretty interesting. This is from Louis Coleman. He was there at the meeting. I guess he saw me talking to Galileo Russell from Hyperchange channel. He said, I see you met Galileo Russell, the Q1 earnings call YouTuber. What did you talk about? Okay, well, so of course I'm not going to tell you about the private conversation word to word, but as you guys know, I've been very critical of the questions that Galileo was asking, and he got to ask like 10 questions during the conference call with Elon, and I took a few shots at him really online. Now I'm kind of, I don't want to say regretting, but I probably should have phrased it a little bit better, because I wasn't really targeting him per se, because I was targeting more, not so much for him for asking those questions, but more Elon Musk for taking those questions, right? I know Galileo was supposed to only ask one question, and that's what he probably prepared, and the rest of them he kind of had to make up on the fly, but either way, I reached out to him. I say, hey, I know I've been pretty critical of you, but I would love to have you on my show, so maybe we can talk about it, and you can tell us where those questions come from, whether you thought Elon Musk should have let you ask so many and hang up on the analysts who were asking questions. So he hasn't replied to me anywhere, so I'm assuming he's a little bit upset maybe, and I understand. But at the same time, we were also introduced by a mutual friend recently online. So when I saw him, I just came up to him and said, hey dude, just wanted to introduce myself. It looks like he knew who I was. And I just kind of said exactly the same what I just told you guys. Hey dude, I wasn't really that big of a fan, but at the same time I want to hear your part of the story. Would love to have you on the channel, and we can talk about it. So he seemed to be pretty receptive, but he also said he was kind of overwhelmed and tired. I understand it was probably a long day for him. I don't think he's local, so I think he had to fly in for this. So nice guy. He had actually a crew of 2 people, and he also got it to ask a question at the shareholder meeting, so which I actually liked. So that's it. But yeah, there were a few people who actually watched the channel, came up and chatted. That was pretty cool, and some that I've seen in the previous shareholder meeting when we were hanging out afterwards. So that was good times. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for me. I will don't forget, I'm going to China this Friday, but I will still produce a video that day right before I fly out. So I will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Other than that, see you, and remember to stay charged.